Now, it's time to hear it from Harlan. Utah Athletics Director Mark Harlan brings you behind the scenes of college and Utah athletics.
And welcome to the December edition of the Hear from Harlan Podcast, along with Utah Director of Athletics Mark Harlan. I'm Mike Lageshill. Busy show ahead. We've got Holiday Bowl talk. We've got stadium expansion on the horizon. But first, we'll look back at a busy month of November. Mark, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Mike. Always great to talk to you.
Well, let's look back at what was a huge month of November. Really a good, strong close to the fall sports season. Mark, volleyball in the NCAA Tournament last weekend in Provo. They beat Denver in 3. Lost number 4 BYU in 3, but the volleyball team had won 6 of 7 to close out before they lost to BYU. Very, very strong close for Beth Lanier's crew. Soccer did not make NCAAs, but they won 6 of their last 9. Just narrowly missed NCAAs. And, of course, football, the huge comeback win, Mark. You got to spot BYU 20 before we come back and win 35-27. Just a huge month. Your thoughts on just how the fall sports season wrapped up?
Well, it was it was great to see our teams finish so strong. I think at the end of the day, you want to be in postseason play. That's the goal, and of course here to advance in postseason play. But when I look at soccer, for example, and we've talked about this before, their finish was so extraordinarily impressive in every possible manner, overcoming injuries and senior leadership and all of those things that came together and just missed it.
Yep.
And as I said before, I was not pleased, but I was so pleased with the way they finished and the fact that they won on the road at CU to end the season. Volleyball, had a chance to go down to Provo and watch them play against BYU, and the fight that we showed. It was a 3-game loss, but every game was a fight. And I loved going in the locker room and listening to Beth talk to the team afterwards. And what she said was so profound. It was, let's keep sight of what has happened here. To win all those games at the end that they did against incredible quality opponents.
Right.
To get into the tournament, advance through the first round of the tournament with a team that was so young. We had one senior really playing on that team. And so they're all back. It's going to be a great offseason for Beth. They're recruiting at a high level. So really excited about where that team is at.
I forget sometimes how good of a coach she is. I worked with her a lot my first few years here, and now I'm doing more on the live streaming side. But I sat by the bench against Washington State last year, and Utah was ready to close out the match. Wazoo rallied, and she stood up and didn't call timeout, but motioned to her setter. We scored 3 straight points. The match is over, and we're just like, what the heck happened right there? But you talk to her coaching staff over the years, and they say she is so good at building a team over the course of a season and managing matches, just her ability to make decisions on the fly. It's off the charts, and obviously she's had a great run to lose Berkeley Oblatt, her middle blocker, earlier in the year to have this young crew, you said. Just a great job by Beth Lanier this year, I thought.
She's terrific. She's a true gem for not only this athletic department, but for this university. And it's just been a joy to work with her. She's got a lot of great things to say, not only for the volleyball program, but for me about this department, this community, and just really, really honored to have her here.
Well, of course, the big football game, Mark. Your first experience of Utah and BYU in the Desert First Dual rivalry, and as I said, you spot them a 20-point lead. It's 27-7. You come back. The Utes do win that game, 35-27. Great atmosphere, great environment. I know you and the BYU folks were working with the fan bases to kind of keep things at a higher level of decorum with the fan bases. You had some advertising in the papers, some social media hits. How did you feel it went that first BYU game?
Well, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was fun to experience that personally for my family and myself. And to walk around the stadium, it was obviously a chilly day, as we remember. And, obviously the late kickoff challenged our fans, and people showed up. I thought that everyone behaved fine. I got a kind of an after-action report. It was similar to any other game when you get close to 48,000 people in one place. Everything was handled well. And, I love the way the guys fought in that game. I mean, at halftime, you'd probably find no other believers except for in the building of where those guys were trying to rest and get up. I had a chance to talk to Britton Covey after the game, and I said, what happened at halftime? I didn't get in there. I sometimes go in there, but I wasn't. He just said, it was one of those things. We all kind of look at each other and staring, and we weren't mad at our coaches. They were calling a good game. We just were like, what's going on, guys? Let's go. And obviously that's exactly what they did. It was dominating second half performance. So great day for the Utes. Obviously, we kept the fans entertained, and appreciate everybody that stuck and stayed through it. And of course, 6 days later, we were on to the Pac-12 Championship game.
Yep, great battle against Washington, low-scoring affair. the Utes had some chances. I don't want to talk about the last drive or so. I know some fans were upset about some things that maybe did or did not happen in that situation. But I tell you what, to reach the Pac-12 Championship game, first time in program history, the Utes have done that. As a result, they are off to the Holiday Bowl. But, and especially you consider the injuries. To lose your starting quarterback, your top running back within about 5 days. They fought through so much this year, Kyle Whittingham and that crew. Just a great season for Utah football.
Well, you're exactly right. Just a terrific opportunity to be in that championship game, first time ever. Earned it every step of the way. Started off 0-2 in the league, and to fight all the way back. The game itself was just a slugfest. You know, it's rare sometimes where you read the what's going to happen in the game. Experts with quotations there. And they were right.
They were right.
It was a slugfest, incredibly physical. Had a chance to be there on the field at the end of the third through the fourth, and just two teams going at each other. Great respect. I don't know if you really caught it in the stands or on the team, but they were picking each other up. Great respect between these two programs. Came down to a goofy football play, and their guy intercepts it, and he's on his feet and runs it back. Our guy does the same thing in the first quarter, but he's on his back. That's the difference of winning a championship and not. I know there's focus on the last play. Certainly, we deal with officiating. Kyle and I talk to the league. We keep that behind the scenes is probably the right thing to do. But I also saw some comments from our guys on social media. That play. Whether we got another one, I didn't decide. I'm sure everyone would like that opportunity. I certainly would be remiss if I didn't say I liked that opportunity. But that was. I don't want to diminish Washington's victory. They played, they won. I wish them all the best of luck as they go against Ohio State's a much needed win we would need for the conference. But the most important thing about that game at the end of the day was we were there. We fought our tails off. We were 3-1 in the crowd count. There was red everywhere.
Tremendous turnout.
We were live. I mentioned to a media member yesterday that that blocked field goal, I'm convinced had a lot to do with our fans that were going nuts. You couldn't hear yourself think on that play, which turned the tides and gave us another shot. So thank you so much to all our fans who went there short notice and were absolutely loud and awesome.
Yeah, on television, maybe didn't show it as well as in person because they were showing mainly the Washington side that had a lot of empty seats. Our side was, solid
packed.
Red. We were packed in there.
It was packed, and it really could be felt and heard, and so appreciative of all the support.
And that maybe helped us, Mark, when the bowl announcements came around on Sunday. You show up like the Ute fans did for the Pac-12 Championship, the Holiday Bowl. Listen, they're in the business of selling tickets, making money. They want a good turnout, and the way the Utes turned out in Santa Clara had to help us with that Holiday Bowl bid. Well,
there's no question. The Pac-12 has a rule where you can those three bowls, the Alamo Holiday and the Red Box Bowl, have an opportunity. They pay a premium, and they can choose a team that's one loss behind you in the standings. Not a big fan of that rule, Mike. I've been public about that. I really think we need to relook at that as a conference. I think there needs to be some protection of the divisional champion. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, it's the rule that we're under right now. And so, there were some lobbying efforts that you didn't want to talk about Plan B going into the championship game. But, I think that's my role to keep an eye on these different outcomes. But we just kind of launched an army. I deputized a bunch of folks in the greater San Diego area and here to, the old power of who, as they say, right? The old Bob Odine power of who. Who knows the people on the committee, and how can you connect to them? And great conversations with the Holiday Bowl people, and we knew we had some other great brands that we were, up against and great programs. And so when it all came down, and I got the call on Sunday from the league, and on the line was Mark from the Holiday Bowl, their director, and got the official invitation. It was certainly a great moment. Had a chance to then get off the phone, call Whit. Whit was so excited.
Yeah.
He's a four-time, I think he played in that bowl 4 times.
Yep, at BYU. He's in their Hall of Fame, in fact.
And he's a Hall of Famer, and they're excited about that. And then to have Northwestern, a fantastic opponent who's also never been to the Holiday Bowl. So they are over the moon excited. They were very thoughtful in their selection process. May have caused me a little stress. My son thinks I got more gray hair just from the weekend, all morning pacing Sunday, waiting for the phone to ring. So, glad it all worked out. The team deserved this. It's all about them. They earned it, and it'll be a great opportunity for the Utes.
Great matchup, I think. You look at Northwestern, they kind of remind me of us in a lot of ways. I mean, their head coach, Pat Fitzgerald, was a linebacker at Northwestern, was big in that program's turnaround with that 95 Rose Bowl season. He came back as their head coach, a guy who really coaches defense first, run the football, very much like Kyle Whittingham. To a couple of guys who really have a lot of pride in what they do. They've been there a long time. I think this is Fitzgerald's 13th year. Witt's been here a long time as well. I was just intrigued by the matchup. You think about, okay, we could play this team or that team, and Northwestern obviously played Ohio State pretty tough. They were their division champion in the Big Ten like we were in the Pac-12. And to see that matchup come up, I'm like, that's an interesting matchup. Two top 25 teams. That should be a lot of fun down there on New Year's Eve.
Well, two guys that share a lot of similarities, like you mentioned. They have great respect for each other. Witt mentioned to me that when he asked me who we playing, which was a fair question, by the way, that he asked me, and I told him Northwestern, and he said, "Oh, that's fantastic." And he immediately went to Fitz and, about his respect for him. We share the Under Armour relationship, and so there's events that sometimes occur throughout the year. You get to know those guys, and so I've gotten to know their athletic director very well, and certainly met Fitz a couple times. Pure class. They both love the institutions they're at. They've had opportunities both to probably leave through the years, but they love where they're at. And so just a clash of two defensive-minded coaches who get it.
Right. And their fans will travel. I can tell you Chicago in December, as a native Midwesterner, is not pleasant. They're going to be out there in droves. So Utah fans, you got to go. You got to represent. Be there in your red. We got tickets on sale. Go to utahtickets.com/Holiday Bowl. And the cost range $65 to $145. San Diego, between Christmas and New Year's, there's so much going on with the gas lamp district. The weather's going to be good. For Utah fans, this is what we've kind of waited for. It's not the Rose Bowl, but we've been, building up to a big bowl season. This was our chance to go someplace different. The Holiday Bowl, first time in school history. So fans, get out there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I imagine, December 26th, lots of flights between here and San Diego. But try Orange County if you're looking to save some money. Fans, I looked at that last night. You can get a rental car, save some bucks in a flight, drive down. So a lot of options, but that should be just a tremendous experience for us.
It's one of those things where this one is a little different, and I'll be very, very candid about this. We need our folks there to help win the game, right? But it's also, this is a data point that is looked at by future bowl directors. Possibly, who knows what could be in the future if we wanted to play in a preseason game, whatever it might be. One of the things they look at is, how do you travel to these big games? So we have a very aggressive goal to sell 14,000 tickets in our allotment. That's above and beyond the expected number, but I think we can do it. And I'm challenging our fans to really rise up. And if you're on the fence, get off the fence. There's been some social media conversations I've had with fans in the last couple days, and asking me, well, you can go to the Holiday Bowl site, or you can go to one of the third-party sites, and I get that, and I understand that, and I'm not naive to that, but I just want to really emphasize that by going to our website and purchasing the ticket, it's a double win. One, you're in our section, you're surrounded by your fellow crazed Ute fans, which I think adds to the value of the game, but you're also helping us in our future opportunities. But I say that recognizing that there could be better value at other places and maybe not. But I just want to make the appeal that we really would like to end this game and say to the future, this is what we did when we took this next step up. Utah proved it at the Fiesta Bowl. They proved it at the Sugar Bowl. We need to do that again.
Yep, it's another chance for Utah fans to show, as you said, what we're all about as a fan base. And again, it should be a great matchup. Utah Northwestern coming up New Year's Eve, 5 p.m. Mountain Time in San Diego. And with winter sports, Mark, I know you spent some time with the men's basketball team at the Wooden Legacy Tournament over Thanksgiving. They had a home game against Tulsa Saturday, but a big one coming up this coming Saturday as this podcast hits the airwaves. BYU at Vivint Smart Home Arena, always a great matchup, and that should be a fun experience for you, your first Utah BYU basketball game coming up.
Well, I'm equally excited about the women that night playing here in the Huntsman Center, and also the men go at 12, a couple hours before down at the Vivint Arena. So it'd be fun to have a double header, with the basketball programs. But yeah, it's exciting. We're right in the middle of basketball, and look forward to talking to Parker in just a minute.
Yeah, women's basketball 8-0. They had a big win against Alabama. They're against BYU Saturday at 7. They're down in Las Vegas to face Florida and then Hawaii or UNLV. I think this might be Lynn Roberts' best team. She won't tell me that as yet. She'll say check back with me in March, but pretty good squad for Lynn Roberts and crew. A very promising start to their season. Well, speaking of basketball, we've got one of the finalists from the men's team coming up, Parker Van Dyke. He'll be with Mark Harlan when we come back with more of the Here from Harlan podcast in just a moment.
Now, it's time for Utah's head man to catch up with one of our star student athletes. Once again, here's Ute Athletics Director Mark Harlan on the Hear It From Harlan podcast.
Well, as I always say, the best part of the podcast is when I get a chance to sit down with one of our great student athletes, and today is absolutely the case. We have Parker Van Dyke from our men's basketball team here today to visit with me a little bit about him and also the team. And so, Parker, first of all, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
You know, it's funny. I've driven by East High a bunch of times, and my daughter mentioned to me, hey, that's where they filmed, High School Musical. But then what I really came to find out, it's really famous because of you. So the pride of East High School and everything you accomplished there. Interested in how you crossed the street. How was that process to go from East right here to Utah?
Yeah, very cool experience for me personally, because obviously growing up so close to the U, I grew up a Utah fan and was often attending Utah football games, Utah basketball games. And, as a kid, I kind of almost imagined myself playing for the U. And then, growing up and going to East High and started to progress in basketball and started to get recruited by Utah and some other, Pac-12 level schools. And that dream kind of became a reality for me. And it was just it was an easy transition. I mean, I actually live closer to the U than I do East. And so I don't think many people can say they live closer to their college than they do their high school. So easy transition, a lot of fun, been a big Utah fan my whole life, so it's been great.
So it's really a dream come true. Sometimes when you're the local kid, so to speak, and you come over, the pressure and the spotlight is a little bit more on you. You feel like you're carrying the community and show, hey, we got a guy right here. Have you felt that, or has that not been anything special?
I think the community here and my friends and family in the area have been so great and supportive. It hasn't been this unnecessary pressure placed upon me, but it's almost been an overwhelming amount of support. And it's been great. And they've been behind me every step of the way, and have been there to help me and to just help me really enjoy this experience. And so, me talking to other local athletes who are considering coming to the U, I let them know how great it is and how great the community is and how fun it is to play in front of so many people that and to play for a school that you're very familiar with. So it's been nothing but tremendous from the supporting side of the committee or from the community, and no unnecessary pressure has been placed upon me, and so it's been great.
Well, I love to hear that you're telling that story. A lot of times when I'm in the community, people say, hey, we want to keep every athlete here. And I said, of course our coaches want to keep every athlete here that's worthy of coming here. And so it's great to hear that you help with that, because I do think there's this sometimes feeling, we need to get away, but sometimes the best is right here. So I appreciate those words. Let's talk a little bit about you academically. Tell us kind of what you're studying and how's that part of your life going?
It's going good right now. I'm a senior. I've got just finishing up this fall semester here, and then we've got planning on graduating in the spring.
Fantastic. Which
is exciting. I'm an economics major, and I think like all college students, wasn't sure what I was going to do when I got to school, and went a few different routes, and was originally kind of in the business school and took some classes with some good teachers in the business school and was kind of going that route. And then somewhere around along the lines last year, it just kind of wasn't working with my travel schedule in the spring, kind of going the business route. So we shifted to economics, and it's been great ever since. And I've just enjoyed coming to school here. And a good thing about being in the area, being from the area, is I've got a lot of classes with a lot of friends. And I think that helps the learning process, that you can, you and your fellow friends can help each other out. And so it's just been a great experience.
Econ major. You decided to go the easy route.
Yeah.
I went to University of Arizona. My math isn't great. And I don't think I would have been able to handle the econ. I stuck with the poli-sci, which, of course, has got a little bit more complicated these days.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your squad. I had a chance to spend time with you guys at the Thanksgiving tournament. Really got a chance to see behind the scenes how you guys operate. A group that's very close. You can tell you guys give each other a lot of grief. I noticed that at the banquet I was at and some of the behind the scenes stuff. Mm-hmm. A coach has challenged you guys. You've been on a long road trip out to Minnesota. You've been to California. I think you were out when you played against Tulsa on Saturday. That was almost 2+ weeks outside the building, which is unique in November.
Yep.
So just give everyone listening here just how is the team doing, and what do you think's ahead?
I think those early challenges we faced on the road at Minnesota and then that early Thanksgiving tournament, there was a lot of room for growth in those experiences, and we definitely needed it because we're a young team. young, inexperienced team. We still have a lot of talent, but I think those experiences that we had were really great for us. And I think the best thing about, we came home from the Thanksgiving tournament and we had a full week of practice before the Tulsa game on Saturday. And again, this week we have a full week of practice. And so I think that's what we really need right now. We just need more time together, practicing, playing, and I think we're only going to get better from here on out. And we've had our issues being inconsistent so far. I think we've one lost, every other one each game. And some of the mistakes we make are to expect with a young team. And it's been a great opportunity for me as a senior to try to help some of my teammates, come along the maturity path a little bit quicker, and try to help them understand what it's like to be a college basketball player, and to appreciate the grind. It's a tough thing, tough season.
Appreciate the grind. I mean, you and Sed, and maybe if I'm forgetting somebody else, forgive me. And then you got a bunch of young pups out there, and I've talked to Coach about it too. It's just, this is kind of what this is about. You want to win as many November and December games. No one's running from that. But you also want to be ready to go for that league season. And, we're seeing the league. There's some teams, as I look at scores, I'm sure you guys do too, as you watch the other 11 schools in our conference, there's been some up and down. I don't see a juggernaut out there. No. I think we're going to see teams that are going to get better, but obviously building toward the conference season. Well, when this podcast is released, the BYU game will be upon us. Obviously we've talked about you growing up here. What does that game mean for you and the guys?
It means a lot for me on a personal level. I mean, obviously growing up in the state and being a Utah fan, I went to numerous BYU games versus Utah, and I've been able to play in two myself, and there's honestly nothing like it. I remember my freshman year was a while back, but playing here at the Huntsman Center, and I mean, that was probably the best atmosphere I've played in here. Just a great game. We won the game pretty, about 15, 20 points, which was really nice because we hadn't beat them in a couple years. And that's a memory that will always stick to me. And then last year we didn't win, but we played at their place, and that was another great experience. And so it's something, as a personal goal of mine, is I hope that the U always plays the Y, because that's such an incredible experience that It's
funny, when I say that, my social media lights up with opinions on all of that. When you say it, how does your social media react? Or you just don't care. It's what you believe.
No, it's what I believe.
Good for you.
As a player, because you can't deprive a Utah player of that rivalry experience. I mean, even just watching the football game.
You get a little fired up there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, we won, so it's great.
We did.
But, I just, growing up in the rivalry, I love it, and I hope it continues, because I've had so much fun watching it. I've had so much fun playing in it.
There's so much history.
So much history
in it. And I have told fans that and I know everyone's on different things on this particular issue, and we don't need to get involved in that. But what I do say is, our student athletes love to compete, and in environments like that. So obviously it'd be great to see you compete in that game this Saturday. So we got the season, right? We're going to go through the season and wherever that goes, and then graduation. What do you think's next for you?
That is what I call the $1 million question.
Did I sound like your parents there on that question?
No, I guess, that's a question I get often, and it's funny how fast time has gone, and it just flies by. It feels like, just like we mentioned, it feels like I was at East High, last year.
It's crazy. And
here I am in my senior year at the U, and I think my first priority is just to kind of get the most out of this season and to not let any moment go by. There should be no sense of complacency on my part, or no time to feel sorry for myself or anything, just embrace it all. And then after this, I don't know. I've always kind of originally thought to pursue basketball as long as I can, and if that's an opportunity for me. And but we'll see. I know one thing: I'll always be a Ute. Either way, I'll be at the games and be cheering for the Utes and things like that. So that's one thing I do know. But I don't know. But
so
I've got hope for the future.
Pursue the basketball dream. I think you should. You absolutely should. But the great thing is, as we discussed, you got that econ degree from the U.
Yeah.
And, obviously what I've seen of you in the short time and what people have said to me about you during your time here, you're going to be successful in anything you do, playing, coaching, Or what do you do with an econ major? Go be a CEO at someplace big.
Yeah.
And then you can help donate back to us. I'll hit you up on that in 5 years.
Yeah,
sounds good. I'll save that for now. Thanks so much for sharing. I got one little inside story I want to leave everyone with. Had a chance to go over to the cafeteria last week, and I saw Britton Covey and Parker sitting there eating, so I went over to say hi to them. And this was funny. I think you and I caught eyes on this, but Britton probably get in trouble, so hopefully I don't get him in trouble. But he's like, I said, how did it go today? And he says, oh, yeah, we installed some Wildcat for the Husky game. And I was like, oh. And then the first play of the game? We were just talking about when he walked in. We ran the Wildcat with Britton, and his cleat got caught on the grass. Otherwise, I think he's running all the way to our band down there in the end zone. But that's one of the things I love about Utah. You know, just our athletes just all together. They eat dinner together. Everyone's pulling for everybody. But it was fun. We shared that moment together. Best of luck. Thanks so much for coming by today. And we'll see you on Saturday versus BYU.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Parker. Appreciate it.
And welcome back, Mike Laga Show with Utah AD Mark Harlan. And Mark, always fun when we catch up with student athletes. Parker Van Dyke, one of our best, and bright future ahead of him. If it's not basketball, it'll be something else.
Well, he's just, again, another great example of why it's so awesome to work here. He's just such a talented young man on the court, and even more so off the court. One of the leaders in the department. I had a chance to meet him early on some things, and so thoughtful. I had a chance to meet his mom in Thanksgiving tournament down in Anaheim, and you can tell she's got such great passion for the U. So another young man, I don't know how many choices he really had at the end of the day come to the U, but it's just gratifying for me to hear how happy he's been here, how he's talking to local recruits when he gets the opportunity to tell them, hey, listen, you can come here and thrive.
Yeah.
And that was really gratifying for me to hear that. So that's why I can't tell, but I got a big smile on my face after talking to him.
And coaches will tell you your current players help sell the next generation.
Absolutely
coming
right.
To the program, and he's a perfect guy to do that. Parker Van Dyke, again for men's basketball, joining us here on the Hear From Harlan podcast. Speaking of student athletes, Mark, a big number came out about 3 weeks ago. The graduation success rate, an all-time high here at the U, 95%. That's up 5% from last year, and that's based upon graduation rate of our student athletes within 6 years from the time they enroll. That is a tremendous, tremendous number. Just
a really, incredible.
Yeah.
It is not easy to be a student athlete. It is taxing. It is a time commitment unlike any other, and pressures. And to get the data back, we obviously had an incredible rate last year at 90%, and then at 95%. It speaks to so many. It speaks to my predecessor, Dr. Hill, who invested in academic services here, and had that group ready and hired some tremendous people over there that work with our young people all day. It's a testament to our coaches, who know it's the thing that they are responsible for to help our young people graduate and keep focused on that. And also the student athletes themselves who in this age of the Pac-12, the 6 years, and that's in the heart of our rise in the Pac-12, have stayed focused on the classroom. And so it is such a win-win-win in all ways possible. And boy, when that number hit, of all the things that have happened this fall, that one really got to me now. Now is our challenge, right? Because that's a high bar, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to foster the graduation dreams of our student athletes.
You think about the Pac-12 conference, Mark. I mean, the great schools in this league. Utah's GSR second best in the entire conference. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, right behind Stanford, I believe. And so, I go back to the university's readiness to get in the league, and the readiness sometimes is publicly talked about, the facilities and the competitive, but the readiness was also making sure that we recruited great kids who were here for the right reasons. So what an incredible accomplishment, and we're going to do everything we can to keep it there and even improve it.
Yeah.
Let's shoot for 100. I don't know if it's possible because some kids have other things they need to go and do, but just a great data point, so to speak, that came out last week, and a tribute to so many great people.
All right. Well, Mark, the other big news this month, the announcement of the stadium renovation plans. And this will be a huge project, $80 million the estimated cost at this point. Capacity will rise from 45,807 to 51,444. The goal to have this done by is for the 2021 season. Just a huge undertaking, Mark. We've got some questions we'll go to in a few moments, but just some thoughts from you in general on this big project coming up.
Well, again, tribute to Dr. Hill, who had done a lot of work on this with Kyle Brennan and other folks here, Steve Smith, and great consultants, and I just had to get come in and read it all and study it all and challenge it and back and forth. And, I wanted a very, very conservative financial plan. I was not going to do any of this if it was going to harm, having to go back into our budget. Once I got to that place, I sat down with the president, and she fully supported it, and we've been off and running. And so we are still in the middle of an approval process. We are asking for $80 million in bond funding. So we're there so far. It's been going great and answering the questions that you need to. At the end of the day, we're going to challenge our people to help us raise $35 million philanthropically for that. We're off to a really good start there. And then we know the seats. We're going to have to sell those, and we're putting together that plan for the pricing. But it was fun to get that out and show that to people. Certainly was a question that I got a lot about it, and I am very, very confident we'll pay for it based on every model that we have, and that the new capacity, as you mentioned, will continue to foster our incredible success in selling out the stadium. So a win-win-win again.
Yes.
And excited about that project in all regards.
Mark, a few questions that came to us via social media. And again, fans, everything is maybe a little bit in flux at this point. So Mark gives you an answer today. It might change in a year's time, but he can talk about some things in general, I think, at this point. One question was, Mark, why did we decide to add the number of seats we did and not more?
Yeah, that was all totally data-driven decision. There was a very comprehensive survey that was done by one of the best companies out of Dallas that has handled a bunch of these renovations and new stadiums. And the data was clear that really our sweet spot in terms of new capacity was right in between that 50 to 55.
Yep.
You could argue that we could do more, and it's a fair argument, but you really said that we needed to be right around there. And then also we had to look at our budget and what we really believed we could do in that conservative model. So it was a completely data-driven decision on the new capacity.
This will include this new renovation, 1,000 more chair or bleacher seats, excuse me. So fans were concerned, hey, if I sit in the south end zone or if I'm a fan of the bleachers there, does this impact me? And we're actually going to increase bleacher seats as it turns out.
Yeah, very important, that the folks that are in there now and they want to renew, that we have a place for them to go back in there. And then on top of that, again, going back to the data, it suggested that we could put another 1,000 of those type of seats. The remaining of those will be premium seating, which is all outlined in our website and pictures of that, whether that be suites, loge seating, rooftop terrace seating, all of which those products tested really well. But it was very, very important to also have another type of option that the survey suggested. And so I think it's a really good combination of both.
One more question. Someone asking, what does this project entail for $80 million? I think some people don't realize the locker rooms at this current state are in bad condition. The cost to maintain those is off the charts. This is going to be a big part of this project, Mark. Just talk about what this project entails. It's not just seats and premium seating.
It's a great question, and it's one I've got in the approval process, too, by some leadership about this. And I think that's something that's really important for us to continue to mention. The Clark building, where the current locker rooms sit for both the home and visitors, along with training areas, along with equipment areas, is failing. And we need to get that fixed. And we've had pipe breaks. We had a major problem at the Washington game this year when our team was on the field, and the great staff over there got it fixed. But we're holding our breath every game there. So when we did an analysis of replacing the Clark building, it came out to close to $40 to $50 million just to replace the infrastructure. So, if you look now, we can do all of that and then add the seating, and then have the seating really primarily pay for, fixing that building. That's something that, we need to be Pac-12 quality in how we present our football program and, frankly, our visitors. And I also said, believe me, the visitor locker room won't be like the Ute locker room, but it'll be Pac-12 worthy for the kind of opponents we play. So we also fixed that problem.
Okay, again, shooting for the completion in 2021, as Mark said. Go to UtahUtes.com. There's renderings, all kinds of details. I think a stadium fly-through video is still there. It's going to be gorgeous to enclose the stadium and connect the east and west sides. The video board will not move. That was put in a good spot before that was erected last summer.
Very smart. And also, like you said, the 360, it allows everybody in the stadium to experience that space, the restrooms that are going to be on the outer side. This will improve not only for the people that go into there, but also the entire stadium. The movement will dramatically change in the stadium and in the restrooms, which I know. And let me also say one other thing, because this has come up since the announcement. Mark, are you looking at other parts of the stadium? And the answer to that is, in this particular project, it's not contemplated. But I hear you. I've had a chance to walk around and see we're never going to stop. You know, you can't stop. You know, we tell our coaches, never stop, always recruit, always get out there. We're going to continue to look at the stadium and other things, work with our friends with auxiliary services, secure funding wherever we can to improve our restrooms, you know, improve concessions. Every stadium looks at that. We're not going to stop, and I don't want anyone to think that. But it's also important to me to be transparent that this project is based on, you know, what we're trying to do in the South.
All right, lots going on, Mark. It's been a busy, first 3-4 months for you, and we're off to the Holiday Bowl. You and your family enjoy your first Christmas and holidays in the state of Utah, and we'll see you back here in January.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it.
All right, that will do it for the Hear From Harlan podcast. For Mark Harlan, I'm Mike Lageschild. Happy holidays. Until next time, so long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Subscribe and listen all year long as we keep you up to date on the latest information around the Utah Utes and Athletics Director Mark Harlan.